My guest today is the longtime Little Rock, Arkansas banker and current city board member representing Ward 1, Mr. Virgil Miller. As a banker, Mr. Miller has seen his share of changes in the industry. See if you can remember any of these previous banks that once hailed from Little Rock and that Virgil once worked for. Worthen Bank, Savers Federal Savings and Loan, Metropolitan National Bank, Boatman's Bank, Nations Bank, Bank of America, and today, Mr. Miller is the Community Reinvestment Officer for Arvest Bank, whose job is to oversee the Community Reinvestment Act, the CRA, a federal and state law that encourages banks to help meet the credit needs of low to moderate income communities. Virgil's banking career as a Community Reinvestment Officer dovetails well with his longtime commitment to community service that began as far back as 1981, when he was the rally team member for the Boy Scouts of America. Since then, Mr. Miller has served on no less than 35 boards, ranging from past president of the Kawanis Club to Daisy Bates Trustee and Bill and Hillary Clinton Airport Commissioner. Today, he's limited his community involvement to 100 Black Men of Greater Little Rock, board member, Arkansas Capital Corporation, board member, City of Little Rock, Ward 1, director. It is with a great pleasure that I welcome to the table the 2014 Humanitarian of the Year, City Board Director for Ward 1, and banker extraordinaire, Mr. Virgil Miller.
Kerry, thank you very much. I'm going to have to take you with me to introduce me around.
I'll do it.
Whenever I have some events to go to. I think all that makes people know that I'm old. And I've been around because my banking career started with Pulaski's Federal Savings and Loan in 1977 as a management trainee. So I've been around my whole career. Has been in downtown Little Rock. I've never left. And so I developed, obviously, a deep love for this community and for Little Rock, and certainly with all the events, all the organizations I've been involved with, it has really been a labor of love.
It really is. You can tell. I watch you on the city board, and you can tell he takes his city board position very seriously. He reads it well. He questions all the topics that come up really well. But let's not talk about that first. Let's talk about Arkansas Tech. When you went to Arkansas Tech, did you know you were going to be a banker?
I had no idea what I was getting into. I didn't know I was going to go to school.
What do you mean?
I didn't have any aspirations of going to college at the time. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. So when I graduated in 1971 from high school, I was running track. And we had a very good track team. We had some athletes on that team.
What school was that?
It was Wilbur D. Mills High School.
Okay.
In 1971. Of course, Mills came about as a result of Sweet Home High School, which was the all-black high school, and Fuller High School, which was all-white high school. They came together in 1970 and formed Mills High School, Wilbur D. Mills High School. So I was in the second class to graduate from Mills. So I went there in 70. We graduated in 71. I was a junior in 70. And so I was playing football. I ran track. I was an athlete. I was voted most athletic. I think that was more because I was popular than athletic. But I was good enough to get a track scholarship. And Arkansas Tech's track coach, Dr. John Montgomery, came to several of our meets. He saw us run our team, and he was at the Meet of Champs, the final meet of the high school track season. And he came down out of the stands. We ran in the mile relay. We came in second. We should have won the thing, tell you the truth. I still feel a certain way about that.
I can tell.
But he came down from the stands and he said, I want you, and you. He pointed to Larry Harris, Grover Lawson, and me, Virgil Miller. He said, I want you, and you to be Wonder Boys. I didn't even know what a Wonder Boy was, but that is the Arkansas Tech mascot, Wonder Boy. He wanted us to run track, and I got a track scholarship, and that's how I ended up at Tech. I didn't have any idea of what I wanted to do, and come my junior year, I had to declare a major, and I thought, well, business. Let me declare business. It'd be business administration, and that's what I majored in. And so that's how this came about. It wasn't something that I said, oh, man, I want to be a banker. I don't want to go to school for this. I want to go to school for that. It wasn't like that at all.
So how'd you end up in banking? Where'd you first apply for a job out of school? Was it a bank?
No, I came from a very humble background. And so I really didn't have any suits to interview with. So when recruiters came to Tech my senior year, junior year, I never talked to anybody because I didn't have a suit and tie to go and talk to folks. And so when I graduated with my degree in business, I went to Siemens, Alice. They made electric motors out on Highway 365, 145th Street in Southeast Pulaski County, because I worked there during the summer a couple of times. And I interviewed with the guy. I had a suit then, shirt, tie, and thought I was doing a good interview. And the guy kept looking at my feet, And I got a little uncomfortable. When he walked me out, he was looking at my feet. And so I realized when I got in my car that maybe wearing these platform shoes wasn't a real good idea. I mean, they were high, you guys. They were 3 or 4 inches.
Oh, my God.
I was thinking, man, what is this? But those are the only shoes I had.
You looked fly. That's what we used to say back then.
I don't know what he was thinking, but
He was thinking.
I knew I just wore what I had. And then I realized that if I'm going to interview for some jobs, then I probably need to get the right attire. And so I need to get some money. And I was staying at home. So I got a job at Rapes Lumberyard in East Little Rock, making $3 and something an hour. I'm a college grad because I wanted to get some money. And so I worked there a few weeks. Somebody came from Jones Truck Line and said, he just looked at me. I didn't know this guy from Adam. And he said, man, you look like somebody we could use at Jones Truck Line. He was delivering some freight there. And I took him at his word. I went up and interviewed with Jones Truck Line. They hired me, and I thought I was in heaven because they were paying $7.50 an hour. So, I mean, it was just outstanding wage.
Yeah.
It was a union shop. It was double what I was making. I was I was in heaven. And so with Jones, if you worked there 30 days, you became part of the union, and you had union protection. And I was very comfortable. I was making this good money, and I got very comfortable, very, very comfortable. And I remember in the break room once I was talking to the fellas, and I said, "Oh yeah, man, I graduated from Arkansas Tech." It got silent. People were looking. Management heard me, and this guy graduated from college. He has a degree in business. It made them uncomfortable. And so on the 28th day, they let me go.
That's weird.
I got fired.
Now, really?
Yes, I got fired.
And what was their reasoning for firing you?
You don't have to have a reason.
You're just overeducated.
Well, you didn't have to have a reason because during the first 30 days is probation.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And so if you made 30 days, you were in the union, you had union protection. And I just knew that's where I was going to end up. But
you think you blew it because you mentioned you went to college?
I think I blew it. I think I made management very uncomfortable with that. And so they let me go.
Why do you think they were uncomfortable with that?
I have no idea.
You're going to start something in the unions.
They had some other stuff going on with employees and discrimination. They had a lot of stuff going on that I'd come to find out later.
Yeah.
And so I was devastated. And I had lucked up and got a job at the Wrightsville unit for boys, a state employee job. I'm from Wrightsville. And so I got a job.
Are those bad children or delinquent children?
That was
juveniles?
That was a juvenile jail at the time. Now it's a full blown unit of the Arkansas Department of Corrections, but then it just housed juveniles.
Okay.
And so I got a job there pretty quickly. And I became part of the state. I was a state employee, so now I saw jobs that were opening up at the state. And I saw a job open up with the Department of Local Services, which was the forerunner of the Department of Human Services. And I got a job working for the Arkansas Manpower Council, which was part of the old Comprehensive Employment Training Act, or CETA, C-E-T-A, the CETA program.
Right.
And my boss, the head of the CETA program, was a guy by the name of Buddy Valines. That name may sound familiar to some of your listeners because he was certainly on the Little Rock City Board. He became mayor, and he was a longtime county judge. And I worked for Ron Copeland, was the head of the Department of Local Services, a longtime state employee. And I got that job. I was working as an administrator in the old CETA program. And one of my coworkers who I'd worked with, who went on to go to Pulaski Federal Savings and Loan, called me up one day. His name was Terry Paft. And Terry called me up and he said, Virgil, I believe you could have a good opportunity and get a job at Pulaski Federal Savings and Loan. Now, this is in 1977. And I took him at his word, and I went and interviewed with them. I talked to the chairman of the board. I talked to the CEO. I talked to the president. I talked to department heads, and they made a decision to hire Virgil Miller. And they said, look, Virgil, you're making $900 an hour. $900 a month, rather.
Yeah, I was about to say, where do I sign up?
Yeah. And they said, we'll hire you, but we'll pay you $850 a month. And so I'm thinking, man, this is not how this works. You're supposed to get an increase.
Go up.
But I wanted to get away from the state. And so I took the job, and I became the first Black employee to go through their management training program. And they called me their Jackie Robinson.
Oh.
And so that's how I got involved in banking in March of 1977, working for Pulaski Federal Savings and Loan, which went on to change its name to be Savers. But I graduated out of that management training program after about a year plus, and I was trained as a mortgage loan officer. I made mortgage loans, and I was good at it. All of these real estate agents brought me their loans, brought me their clients, and I was good. Mm-hmm. I know I was good. Mm-hmm. And I had a following of real estate agents that brought their businesses to me. And as we evolved as an organization, a lot of the people that I trained, and I became a trainer. I trained other management trainees in lending. And when we reclassified jobs, found out that these retail jobs, these branch management jobs, were higher than a loan officer. And so I got out of lending and I got into the retail side of the business. I became a branch manager, and then I became a regional branch manager over branches over in Central Arkansas. And then when we started having some of our issues, the whole savings and loan industry back in the 80s.
Deregulation.
Oh, gosh. And we thought we were commercial bankers, and we were making loans when we were just making loans for people to buy houses. Then we started making commercial loans. We didn't know what we were doing. And the whole industry got in trouble. And we began to feel the effects of that, acquired a lot of property that we repossessed. And we started a department in special assets, a real estate owned, managing property that we had. And I got in that department. And I had the territories of Austin, Texas, San Antonio, and College Station. We had a bunch of assets there, and I would travel there on a monthly basis. We also had properties in Hawaii, but for some reason,
they didn't let you go there.
Only senior management and sometimes board members got to inspect those properties. I didn't get to inspect those properties, but we had properties all over the country, you guys. And so I did that. And then I got into compliance as we started going down. I got in community development and community reinvestment. And as we began to go down, and we were getting ready to, we were going down. We would be insolvent, and we had a workout person come. And then a gentleman by the name of Kurt Bradbury.
Yeah.
That people know Kurt. He's at Stevens now. He was working at Worthen at the time. Worthen had his issues, and he went over there to straighten that out. I called him up and said, I'm interested in looking for some other opportunities because the bank was going down.
Yeah.
It was just a matter of time before
Yeah.
we closed the doors. And I said, I'm looking at community development. And so if any opportunities, please let me know about them. I had met Kurt at the Arts Center. I had met all these people.
Through your community involvement.
Community involvement, and I like to run my mouth, and I like to go to stuff. And so I met him that way. And much to my surprise, he said, I'd love to talk to you. What about 3 o'clock today?
Is that when you first became a Community Reinvestment Act officer?
After that, we worked out, and a few months later, I got over there to help them with their compliance issue with Community Reinvestment, or CRA. They let me write my job description.
Love it.
And so when I got there, they sandbagged some stuff on me. And when I got there on the first day, Kurt came by, shook my hand, said, here you go, thanks. Here's a copy of our latest examination. They didn't do very well on their CRA compliance, and they said, here you go, fix it. And so that's how I got in banking. I'd worked with Kurt Bradbury. I'd worked from Savers from 1977 to 89.
That's a long time.
And then I got
changed. And then the banks keep getting sold and sold and
and then
sold.
with
So you
Worthen.
end up at another bank. So there's two things in your story that you said that really stick out to me that I try to reiterate every time I interview somebody, and you nailed it for me. You did not stop when you first lost your first job. You got a job for underpay for what you thought you were a college graduate, but you took a job that you felt like was beneath you because you needed money and you weren't too proud to take it. I cannot tell you how many times I say that to people when they say, well, this is below my pay. And I'm like, well, you're not working, so nothing's below your pay. It's those jobs that you take where you meet more other people and you keep moving on up the ladder because you make connections at this job that maybe was below your pay, but you met people. And then the other thing that you mentioned was that you never know who's watching. I have interviewed so many people who said, I was at this job, packing trucks, doing whatever, down on my luck, and somebody saw how hard I was working and they offered me a job somewhere else. You did both of those, which I think is a credit to why you're successful, because you probably did that everywhere you went. So loosening the restrictions on the banks was a free fall for a lot of banks. I don't know if people realize this either, that banks used to be small, were not able to go out of their city to stop monopolies, which we have now, banking monopolies. They would not let banks go
Branch.
outside of their city.
Yes, that's true.
If you were in North Little Rock, you couldn't go into Little Rock. So what else did they deregulate? And do you think any of the deregulation they did it because they wanted it to be more competitive. They wanted banks to be more competitive, which was good for the consumers. But now they're monopolies, so I'm not sure if it worked out in the end to be competitive. So do you think that deregulation was a good idea?
Well, at the time, it was. We thought it was. Certainly getting a chance to serve the whole market, getting a chance to branch outside of our areas, giving the consumer choices, which was part of what all deregulation was all about, letting the savings and loan industry play in the sandbox of the commercial bankers. Now that looking back on that might not have been a good idea because, again, we were trained as savings and loan.
Yeah.
We made home loans. And then now all of a sudden we were making commercial loans. I think it was good for the consumer. Certainly it was good for developers, but we had a lot of developers that just took advantage of all this money out there, all these sources of capital now, and sophisticated developers and builders that would be making applications and getting funds from different financial institutions. And when financial institutions, a lot certainly in the savings and loan, woke up and said, well, let's go take a look at this project that we funded in Florida. Mm-hmm. or in Texas or in Hawaii. And they get there, they've loaned all the money, and it was just a piece of dirt. I mean, they never inspected it was just a mess, you guys. And so in some cases, deregulation was great, but in other cases, it was the wild, wild west, and it didn't serve the industry well.
As they thought it might be. I was going to ask you, one of my questions was, why are you successful? But we already know this, because you never stop. You keep putting one foot in front of the other. You don't let your ego get in the way, and you work hard at whatever job you're doing. So those are the keys to your success. What did your parents do, and why do you have this work ethic?
Well, I was born in Fort Bragg, North Carolina. My father was in the 101st. He was an Army paratrooper. He jumped out of planes. And so I was born in Fort Bragg, which after the murder of George Floyd was renamed to Fort Liberty. So after 60 plus years, I had to get used to saying I was born in Fort Liberty, North Carolina. And so my father's from Jefferson, Arkansas. Which is where Pine Bluff is located. Jefferson County is a city called Jefferson. My mother's from Wrightsville, Arkansas. And so they met on Highway 365 South, the old Pine Bluff Highway from if you leave Little Rock going south before the freeway, you would have to go Highway 365 to go to Pine Bluff.
What, they have a car wreck, run into each other? What happened?
Well, friends. I had my father's first cousin was dating my mother's aunt, and they were about the same age. And then they introduced them to each other. And so that's how my mother and father got together. That's
and then you ended up being born. He got stationed in North Carolina.
Well,
then you ended up in California at Bay City.
We moved to Fort Campbell, Kentucky. We moved back to Wrightsville for a minute. I went to Wrightsville Elementary School for the first grade. Well, a big one-room seemed like schoolhouse. It was interesting.
You're an Army brat.
I am.
No wonder you're so personable. Now we know. That's why he likes to schmooze with everybody.
I do that. And during the Great Migration, a lot of blacks from the South migrated up north. The Millers migrated to Southern California, Compton, California. A set of my father's sisters and brothers migrated there. Another set of my father's sisters and brothers migrated to Berkeley and to Oakland. And so when people were looking to leave Arkansas, they had a place they could go and get a foothold. And my parents decided to move to Berkeley. And so we moved to Berkeley in 1959, 60 during that time. And I went to second grade there, Miss Ikeda. I went to Lincoln Elementary School, which is now named Malcolm X Elementary.
How do you remember all this stuff? Your brain is chocked full of dates.
I was going to say, you have all of these really great memory markers. Yeah.
Isn't somebody about to have a city hall named after your aunt or something out there? This was before we got on the air.
Yeah. Old Berkeley City Hall is named after my Aunt Maudel.
Why?
My Aunt Maudel is an interesting character. She believed in civil rights, women's rights, workers' rights. And one day she's in Berkeley and she believed in fresh fruits and vegetables. She had a community garden. And she worked with the seniors. She was about 60 something years old. And she wanted to bring fruits and vegetables to the senior center. And she was trying to do that, and there was a ordinance in Berkeley that said you can't bring these fruits and vegetables here to the senior center. You have to buy them from a grocery store.
Yeah, they don't like
And she said, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. I mean, this is healthier for you. This is better for you. And they said, look, if you don't like it, run for the city board and change it.
Oh.
She ran for city board.
That's where you get it from. Now we've gotten down to it.
And she ran, and she was at the time she retired. She was I think she was the oldest living council person in the state of California. She was about 100 years old, and she couldn't be beaten. And so she started, and I mean, she's just.
She ran till she was 100 years old.
I mean, she kept getting
So
elected.
that's like Joan Adcock. At the city board itself.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So I mean, you get that, get that momentum behind you and get that following behind you.
Do you
and
think experience is important to being on the city board?
it's good? It's good and bad. We need new ideas too.
Oh,
But certainly when my aunt died, there was a headline in the paper, the godmother of East Bay politics.
No.
And you can see those papers now. I got stuff. She's with Jesse Jackson. She got Ron Dellums in politics. Ron Dellums credits my aunt for getting him in
so
politics.
what's your
That's
headline going to be when you pass?
that Virgil loved Little Rock.
Oh,
and that
Virgil
he wanted to
loves Little Rock.
Virgil loved Little Rock. And so
That just rolls off your tongue.
Sure.
I thought I'd never get into politics.
That's what a lot of people say. All right, this is a great place to take a break. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Arvest Bank's Community Reinvestment Officer, Mr. Virgil Miller, who also just happens to be Little Rock, Arkansas's Ward 1 City Director. Still to come, we're going to learn a little bit more about the CRA, Community Reinvestment Act, who's eligible, how you apply. We're going to learn about the city board, how the city board operates and what role do they play in our government, and what everybody's talking about, the new Little Rock, Arkansas master plan with its proposed 1% sales tax increase. We'll be right back.
Today at flagandbanner.com, we're installing large mesh banners on our new addition. Mesh banners provide protection from the wind and rain, but are more durable in high wind areas. Before you drill into your building, call the experts for high-quality banners and professional installation.
Look at all that gray hair. He's definitely an expert. Flagandbanner.com has been helping our customers for over 45 years. For advice on functional and beautiful banners, call flagandbanner.com.
Thank you, Gray. We're speaking today with Little Rock, Arkansas's Ward 1 City Director, Mr. Virgil Miller, who, by the day, is Arvest Bank's Community Reinvestment Officer that works to meet the credit needs of low to moderate income communities while still maintaining safe and sound banking practices. So who's eligible for that?
Well, let me start first by saying banks are heavily regulated.
Yes.
As well they should be, because they take people's money and they're entrusted with that. And so bankers have not always been and made capital accessible to the whole community.
Yeah, because they don't want to take the risk.
Well, there were a lot of discriminatory practices. You've heard the term redlining.
Oh, yeah.
That was a term that bankers use when they be on a chalkboard. They take a red pen, they draw on a map and say, we're not going to lend in this area.
Well, that's because there's probably crime, and it's not probably got a lot of, what is that called when your real estate grows? What is,
Appreciation
in that area.
Well,
do you think that's why, or do you think it's just discriminatory?
It was just discriminatory at the time because African Americans couldn't get loans.
Oh.
And just like veterans, black veterans who came back weren't given access to the VA loans. Or
What?
FHA loans, or black farmers weren't given access to farm guaranteed loans just because of the color of the skin. And so when this practice of redlining started to be focused in on, then the government decided to do something about it. We need to stop this. Mm-hmm. And so there was a series of laws that came about. One was the Home Mortgage Disclosure Act that said we're going to track who gets loans, where they get loans. We're going to measure that. We're going to look at declination rates. Why is this person or this group being declined more than this group of people? And so they began to take a look at that. And a series of fair lending laws began to come on the books. And then in 1977, a companion regulation with this was the Community Reinvestment Act that said that banks have to meet the credit needs of their entire community, including the low and moderate income community.
Did they give them quotas?
No, because again, this was done with sound banking practices. CRA is a economic issue. It's not a fair lending issue. We don't look at race and protected class when it comes to CRA. CRA deals with low and moderate income people, low and moderate income geographies. And so in Harrison, Arkansas, you have low and moderate income areas, you have low and moderate income individuals. And so the bank has to try to meet those needs of low and moderate income areas. And of course, if a community or area doesn't have access to capital, then it affects their ability to grow.
Right.
And so
does the federal government back these loans when you do it? Is that why you can do it?
No, there are a number of loans through federal programs, FHA loans, Federal Housing Administration loans, VA loans, Veteran Administration loans, that they help and back some of those, a percentage of loans, something like small business loans, guarantees like that. But a lot of these are conventional loans where the bankers take your credit
and take the risk.
Yes, they underwrite the credit and they make decisions based on that. But again, you have to monitor that because a lot of areas just weren't getting loans.
So if somebody is a low to moderate income and wants a loan, do they come see you?
No, I actually work for Arvest Bank operations. I work for the holding company.
Oh, okay.
I oversee the banks that have all these regulations. We're in compliance, make sure the banks are doing what they should be doing.
So who would they go see at Arvest Bank?
They would go depending on what they're trying to get. If they're a consumer loan, they go see a consumer lender. If it's a small business loan, they go see a small business lender or a commercial lender. If they're trying to get a mortgage, they go see a mortgage loan officer.
So the CRA covers all of those type loans?
Yes. They look at who you making loans to and where you're making your loans. And they give you a grade on that. So each bank, if you're covered under the Community Reinvestment Act, you get a grade on that. A bank our size, Arvest, will be looked at every 2.5, 3 years. Regulators will come in and they'll say, are you in compliance with the CRA? And you can get a grade anywhere from outstanding to unsatisfactory to non-compliant.
So you have to read all those compliance rules. Did you have to go get a degree in law to do that? I mean, isn't it a lot of legalese?
It is, and
it's tedious.
I'm not a compliance person by trade. I am a community development person that happens to be in compliance.
Good answer.
Our compliance people are generally, I mean, you got lawyers, you got accountants, you have those type of people that like to read these big old thick books. I like to deal with people. I like to be out in the community.
Yeah,
so my skill set folded in very nicely with Arvest when they were looking for someone to work with CRA. And they interviewed me and all my experience, and they were saying, well, this guy is not exactly what we're looking for as a compliance person, because as a compliance person, you don't have to leave the bank.
Yeah.
All you're doing is crunching numbers.
But you're Mr. Personality bringing in business.
But they looked at me and said, well, I think this guy can help us.
I looked at you and thought the same thing. No. So do you work with Arlo Washington at People's Trust Fund?
That's a separate financial institution, a CDFI.
Do you ever send people over to him? We've interviewed him. He's wonderful at trying to help low-income people get money. And he does have federal backing, and he has backing from the Rockefeller Winrock Group.
He has a community development financial institution. There are different types of financial institution. He has a CDFI. And so banks are encouraged, a conventional bank like ours, we're encouraged to work with CDFIs, either make deposits in CDFIs. We take our money, we can make a deposit in a CDFI. The CDFI then can take our money and then loan that out. So we get CRA consideration through that. We can partner with the CDFI if it's a loan participation, where we would make part of the loan, they can make part of the loan. We would get CRA credit for that.
Yeah.
And so there are a number of different things that we can do to work with CDFIs like People Trust and Arlo Washington. So there are a number of different ways that we can get CRA consideration. And because we get that for lending, we get that for services, and we get that for investments.
So you were appointed, to change subjects now, you were appointed to fill a vacancy at the city board for Ward 1 in October of 2021. What is the story about that?
Well, the late, great Irma Hendricks, who was the Ward 1 representative for the city of Little Rock for years, passed away in October of 21. And the remaining, we have a 10-member city council, 10 members and a mayor. And so the 9 remaining members of the city council would have to select her replacement to serve out her remaining term. And so her term was going to end in December of 2022. And so 21 people applied for that job. And the 9 members of the board ended up selecting me.
You applied for the job.
I applied for the job, something I said I would never do. I didn't want to be in politics. I'm Virgil Miller. Everybody knows me. Everybody likes me. Why should I put myself into that? And I remember in 2021 when I was high profile by the Democrat Gazette, that Sunday deal with your big picture in the paper.
Mom's just hanging out in the hallway.
Oh, yeah. I saw it when I came in. They asked you a question, well, what's one thing you never do? And I said, I'll never run for politics.
So why did you?
Well, it was a calling. At the end of the day, you
It
have
just kept
plans.
bothering you?
And I've worked in this community my whole adult life. I worked in community development at all these banks. I was fortunate enough to write my job description at 3 of these different banks. And so I love Little Rock, and I love community development, and I love helping the people. And Ward 1, which is downtown, which I've lived in, which I've built a house in, which I've worked in my whole adult career, and I know all the communities and all the neighborhoods. It was just a natural
How'd you hear about
elevation.
it? How'd you hear about the opening?
Well, I mean, you read the paper, you saw where Director Hendricks passed, and I had floated that out there, and then all of a sudden people were saying, well, Virgil, you need to do it. You need to do it. And I told the board members, the 9, if they selected me, then I would run for the office in November of 22 for a full 4-year term. I ran. There was 2 other opponents. I got 50+%, and I won the office. So I'm currently in the 2nd year of a 4-year term.
What does it mean when it says you're at an at-large position? Some of them are wards and some of them are at-large positions.
Well, we have 10 positions on the city council. 7 of them represent wards, specific wards. I'm Ward 1, which is downtown, all the way from the port, airport, all the way to ULR. And so you have 6 other wards that people represent, and people can only vote for you who live in that ward. Then we have 3 at-large positions, and they run just like the mayor. They run citywide. And so these 3 at-large, they don't represent a particular ward. They represent the whole city. So they're just like the mayor. The mayor runs citywide. We have 3 people that run citywide, and then we have 7 people that only run in their wards.
So I can't believe your ward goes all the way to UALR, from the airport to UALR. So you've got the East End?
Yes.
You've got a big ward. Is it the biggest one?
No, it's the biggest ward geographically by far, but all these wards have about 30,000 plus people, more or less.
It's population based, right?
Yes, it's population based.
So we got
about 28,000 in Ward 1.
I can't imagine that there's 7 more. There's Ward 1, then there's Baseline, Southwest.
Well, Ward 1's downtown, basically, and
Yeah.
everything south of 630. Ward 2 goes south of where Interstate Park is, and it's southwest Little Rock.
Okay.
Goes there. Ward 3 goes up into the Heights and to Hillcrest, those areas. Ward 4 goes over to where Cappy Peck is.
That's
sort
kind of
along
Midtown.
Cantrell.
I kind of call that Midtown.
Well, sort of the Hall High area where Trios is, that area.
You got 2. You got 3 more.
Ward 5 is let's see. That is sort of West Little Rock.
Okay.
Ward 6 is John Barrow.
Oh, yeah,
Ward
John Barrow.
7 is Southwest Little Rock.
Okay.
And so you have those 7 wards.
Yeah, because you don't realize how much is out on the other side of the Interstate Park. It's huge over there.
Yeah, and goes down all the way to Baseline. It goes south.
A long ways.
West Little Rock, probably Ward 7, that's maybe Lance Hines' ward, may have 30,000 people there. That may be the largest ward population-wise.
What's the biggest problem facing Ward 1? Your ward.
We have, it's the oldest infrastructure, housing, weed lots, vacant houses, dilapidated housing. We have infrastructure needs. Those are certainly some of the things that
Homelessness.
unsheltered people, definitely
Unsheltered.
so. Definitely so. We have most of the shelters here, and when you're downtown, that's where unsheltered people want to be. They want to be downtown.
Yeah.
We have
Well,
a lot
infrastructure
of
makes the
that.
most sense.
Yeah, and where people are.
How about
they can-
crime?
Crime is an issue.
In Ward 1, is it bad?
Well, it's
Who's
all-
got the biggest crime?
Well, it's all over the city.
Yeah.
And so when people ask me, Virgil, what's your top things that you like, that you talk about, that you think is important? I say, well, public safety, and public safety.
Oh.
If we provide public safety, and public safety is much more than just police officers. It is affordable housing, it's job opportunities, it's youth programs. That's what makes a city safe. When you can give idle minds something to do, when you can have opportunities for people. That is what we're trying to do. When we can have more mental health professionals. I don't want to call a patrol officer if somebody's walking down the street having a mental episode, talking to themselves.
But that's the only person you can call right now.
Well, right now we have about 4 people on our mental health team. We have social workers. And of course, if we can get a sales tax passed, then we will have 15 community officers. We believe in foot patrols, bicycle patrols. We need more community-oriented policing, and we need more social workers, and we'll put together these social work teams. So we'll have those, and that's what we're trying
So
to do.
you brought up sales tax. So our sales tax in Little Rock, Arkansas is 9%. That's almost 10%. That's a big sales tax compared to a lot of other cities.
Well,
especially a poor city like ours.
when you look at a portion of sales tax, I'm not exactly sure that percentage. I think it's a little bit different from that. But Little Rock only gets a smaller percentage of that.
Where does it go?
It goes to
County?
County, it goes to transportation, it goes
Little Rock
to
Visitor and
health,
Convention
it goes
Center?
to hospital. They do their own bed tax.
That's restaurant.
Yeah, that's restaurant. That's what they call food tax,
Luxury tax or something.
food and beverage
Yeah.
tax. And so what we're looking at going up for a whole penny. 3/8 of a penny would be permanent. 5/8 of a penny would be for capital projects that would sunset or go away at the end of 10 years. And so we believe that would bring in another $65 million a year into the city, which over 10 years is $650 million. Our regular budget brings in approximately $330 million a year for the city. 60% of that, off the top, 60% of that goes to fire and police.
Yeah.
That's
So why are we having a hard time getting police if we have so much money to go towards paying police?
Well, everybody wants police officers. It's a tough job.
Yeah. It's like every other, we just have a job shortages like we do across the whole country.
We had a recruiter come here, make a presentation to the city board who did an analysis of our police officer situation and the number of employees we have. And he shared with us there's a community in California that pays a $50,000 signing bonus. $50,000. And so
That doesn't go far in California. I'm sorry. That sounds like a lot in Little Rock,
Well, it
but
depends
in
on what-
California,
I
that
guess it
doesn't go
depends on
very
what
far.
city it
Yeah,
is.
it does.
I'll give a $10,000 bonus if you sign.
And so we we give $10,000.
Well, that seems right.
We have $10,000, and then if you live in Little Rock, you get an extra $5,000.
Well, that sounds very reasonable.
And
you get to live in Little Rock, the best place in the world.
and my deal is I don't care where you live.
Yeah.
I really don't. We have some people, well, why don't we have residency requirements? I said, well, we don't want to shrink the pool of people that we're
I agree.
And
yeah.
if somebody wants to live outside of Little Rock, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah. But let's talk about 9%. So the sales tax is 9% of sales. Being a businesswoman and you being a banker, it's a percentage. So we are in the middle of inflation. So let's say before COVID, something cost $100, you made $9. The city and county made $9 in sales tax. So now we've got inflation. It's up to $100. Let's say that same $100 purchase is now a $150 purchase. So it's a percentage. Now the city is making $15 instead of $9. I don't know why, because it's a percentage, that as inflation rises, the money to our city doesn't rise. It seems like they should go together. Are you just...
Yeah, from a banking standpoint, it sort of doesn't work that way.
Wow. Percentage is percentage.
When you look at, say, if you go over North Little Rock and they have a higher sales tax.
What is theirs over there?
I don't know right offhand, but I can tell you when I go over there, I go to McCain Mall and I buy a shirt. I buy a white shirt.
Okay.
Over there. But if something's wrong with it, doesn't fit, I take it back to Dillard's in Little Rock. They give me a refund.
Okay.
They give me a refund because the sales tax over North Little Rock is higher than the one in Little Rock. And so the communities around us that have a higher sales tax in Little Rock is North Little Rock, Benton, Bryan, Conway, all these communities.
They all have a 10% sales tax.
It's not 10%. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's higher than Little Rock.
Are you talking about fractions?
Yeah, percentages.
That's
yes.
not even worth talking about.
Well, it does when
you got that many people,
when it adds up to millions.
You sound like my mother. Count your pennies.
Because right now, if you do 1% or 1 penny, that's $65 million extra. And so, yeah, it makes a difference. So the mayor's in charge of the police and the fire, the utilities, the roads and services, and the budgets. So how does the board play into the hierarchy of all this? Well, we have a hybrid form of government here in Little Rock. And I don't think it serves the community very well at all, quite frankly. Tell our listeners what's happened. In 2007, the city of Little Rock put before the voters a ordinance to change or amend parts of the form of government, and that is to have the mayor work full-time, to have the mayor get a full-time salary, and to give the mayor certain powers that they didn't have before, like making appointments on commissions and boards, and having the city manager act somewhat like a chief operating officer in that situation, because we have the form of government we have in Little Rock right now is city administrator, city council. That's the form of government we have. We don't have a strong mayor form of government, not like North Little Rock. We have a city manager and we have a city council. But the mayor used to be even weaker. Absolutely. But in 2007, they took one of the city council positions and say, we're going to make this a mayor position. We're going to make it full-time. We're going to give you full-time salary. We're going to give you certain powers. But it didn't change the fundamental structure of the government. And so in 2018, when Frank Scott was elected mayor, he says, I'm going to exercise these powers. I'm going to exercise these powers. And so that's what you just made reference to, that the mayor says, well, right now, as of today, these departments are going to report to the mayor. Yeah. These other departments are going to report to the city manager. The city manager and the city attorney are evaluated by the city council. Are you calling the council and the board the same thing? Yes. Okay. Yes. Yeah, right. The city board. And so it is. It's this hybrid form of government. It seems like that should work good. Now the mayor's got all the power. He ought to be able to go in and do anything. Mayor doesn't have all of the power. We still have a city manager and we still have a city board. So now is it a battle of the egos? Well, it is certainly a battle of who has powers as it is spelled out in the form of government. Okay, so the answer to that was yes. So what do you think the mayor's biggest strength is, and where could the board improve itself? Well, when you have a mayor, you sort of have the face of the community, because, again, the mayor's working full-time. The city council made up of 10 people. Some of these people have jobs. It really is a situation that lends itself to older people to be on the board, because when I got on the board, it only paid $18,000 a year. And took up how much time a week? Well, we meet every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday for how long?
Agenda meetings start at 4 p.m. They can last however long it takes.
An hour and a half with the one I watched. So, but is that every week or just once a month?
No, it's every week.
The agenda meetings every week?
The agenda meeting is second and fourth Tuesday.
Okay.
The board meetings are first and third Tuesday.
So you do meet every week?
We meet every week.
Well, not all of them are online.
They should be. They should be. All those should be online and streaming live.
And again, someone's dropped the ball. Too many cooks in the kitchen.
And so that is a situation where the mayor, being full time now, can go to all the ribbon cuttings, can go to all the events.
That's what the mayor did when I was, first become an entrepreneur in Little Rock. Is the mayor did all the ribbon cutting, and the city manager Bruce Moore did all the grunt work.
The departments, the day-to-day operations, but the mayor now does that. And so what you have now, you have 6 out of 10 people on the city board are over 70 years old.
Is that good or bad to have that experience?
Experience is good, but also it is tough when you don't have anybody in their 20s.
Yeah.
You don't have anybody in their 30s.
Yeah.
You don't have to be old to have experience.
Yes, you do. You can't buy wisdom. You just can't buy it. You can't, you just don't, you can't. I mean, if experience was transferable, everybody'd be transferring it.
So
Sure.
One of the things
tough.
I liked about you and the board, though, was because you did have experience. You've now been on since 21. You said, when someone brought something to the board the other day, you said, this looks like something that I vetoed once before, and I'm trying to remember why I vetoed it. Can anybody remember? I'll go back and look at my notes. I also saw old Joan Adcock saying, we've had this problem before. And that's when I started to think, because I'm of the mindset, you need young people. But when I started seeing old man Virgil, old man Joan Adcock, I was like, yeah, we need y'all's experiential wisdom.
Well, this is something, obviously, that you have that much experience, and Director Adcock has been on the board for 32 years, and she's running again.
Mm-hmm.
She's in her 80s.
Well, she sure asks a lot of questions.
And we have 5 other board members in their 70s. We have Director Adcock is retired. Director Wyrick is retired. Director Webb is retired. Director Peck owns her own business.
And the doctor
Director Campuris
is retired.
Well, he's still practicing.
Oh.
And then you have me, and I still work at the bank. So, my bank gives me a lot of flexibility. But if you're 25 years old and you have a family and you have an obligation to meet every Tuesday, and if you don't have a job that gives you that kind of flexibility, because I would say you're not going to be able to raise a family on $25,000 a year. And at first it was just $18,000, and put in the type of time that the city board wants.
$25,000 for one night a week.
No, it's not. It's for, Joan Adcock works 60 hours a week.
How come?
Because that's what she likes to do.
She's drives around and looks at everything?
She does that. I mean, she gets up and goes to bed working for the city.
So do you have to, outside of the board meetings, how many hours would you say a week that you have to go to ribbon community service things, or do you have to read all that legalese that you have to read before the board member starts?
You certainly do. I mean, if you're going to be an effective board member, you're going to read what's on the agenda.
How many pages are those agendas?
Sometimes they can be several pages, but that also includes, when you then drill down into it, what's the write-up from the board? What's the survey look like? What's the zoning look like on that? What's the discussion with the staff on that look like?
How many items do you think there are each week that you have to read through?
We have ordinances. We have resolutions. It could vary anywhere from 15 to 30 items. And of course, when you are the director of a ward, and my phone number is public, I get a lot of phone calls.
How many you get a day?
Sometimes I can get from anywhere from a half dozen to a dozen phone calls.
A
of
day.
People. Yes, a day. And in the
So
evenings,
you treat them the way that you treat the people that come to the board and that come to the podium at the board members. So this is the way that is it effective to come to the podium? Because I watch these poor people come to the podium. It breaks my heart to see this man come up there and say, "This is my third time to be here. I can't get the trash picked up. They blocked my driveway. I can't get into my house." Or another guy comes up there and says, "I'm trying to get to work. The bus has not been running when it's supposed to." Another guy comes up there and says, "The drainage is ruining my property. What do I do?" And it's just the most dismissive answers you've ever heard. It says, "Thank you, Mr. So-and-so. We'll look into that. Somebody make a note."
Yeah, that's what happened when you have every first and third, when we have Tuesday, when we have board meetings. There's a place on the agenda for citizen communications. And anyone can come before the board, come early, 15 minutes early or so, fill out a card, and you get to speak to the board up to 3 minutes on anything you want to speak about.
Oh, I saw one guy was mad about gay pride flags during Pride Week downtown. And I was like, all right, dismiss that guy. I was like, really? Is this a city board issue?
Yeah. I mean, but you can speak about whatever you want to. Now, we don't engage that person in communication. They get to say whatever's on their minds. And then, of course, after that, maybe a staff person can follow back up with them about their particular issue. But we're not going to be engaging with someone who comes up to the mic and wants to question us. Look, that's not what this is for. This is for you to whatever your 3 minutes you want to talk about, you do it.
Why do these guys have to keep coming back and talking about basic management and maintenance?
I think people have passion about what they want.
But why are we not picking up these people's trash? And why is there drainage problems? And how are we going to vote for another 1% sales tax when we haven't executed the things that happened in 2011?
Well, that's some good questions. Obviously, a city our size in Little Rock, we have probably over $1 billion of infrastructure needs. $1 billion. That's with a B.
The mayor said $5 billion when I was watching him the other day.
Well, I mean, we have a lot of infrastructure needs, and so
how did it get so far behind?
Well, I think you have a lot of deferred maintenance issues.
Yes.
And when you're growing a community, and so what you have an older part of the city. Right now, a lot of that's in Ward 1. And then as the city's expanding, say you're expanding out west and you have new communities and new subdivisions, then you're putting resources there. And so the older parts of the city sometimes suffer and not get the type of resources they need because we are expanding and we're stretching ourselves. And so we're building a new fire station out in West Little Rock to take care of the residents there because that's where the city is expanding to. And you want to expand. You want to have a city that's expanding so you can grow your tax base. That's what you want. You don't want to have a city that's not growing at all and no one's moving into Little Rock. You want to be like Nashville, or you want to be like Northwest Arkansas, where you got families moving in on a daily basis.
But Portland decided not to do that.
Portland, Oregon?
And they have really stopped the annexing, and I think it was Portland, and they have really decided to work on what they have, to manage their house instead of going, oh, let's buy some more stuff to take care of, but we can't take care of what we already have. That's my issue.
Well, we have laws on that, or what we can, where we will expand, where we will put services. You may recall that we are working with the county to do a micro village at the county. It's out in southwest Little Rock. It's on the Saline County line. It's right outside of the Little Rock city limits. But we are working with the county, and we agreed to let our wastewater system service them. And so you have to get permission to do that because we have ratepayers. You're a ratepayer you live in Little Rock. You want your services to go towards Little Rock.
Yes.
And so when you're stretching those out, when you're trying to help, when you're trying to do partnerships like that, we take a look at all those things. And so we don't stretch too much of what we're trying to do because we can only take care of what we have.
Yeah.
And say in College Station is part of the city, but it's also part of the county.
Yeah.
And some people don't want to be part of the city.
Yeah.
They will fight annexation, and we don't want to annex everybody. And so that's the that's the balance that you got to have with regard to growth and growing your revenue and growing your tax base, and also being able to then balance what you already have and take care of the infrastructure needs that you have. And so sometimes you just get behind, and we're behind considerably. But I think I would challenge you to go to any city, and see that they have infrastructure needs also.
I travel a lot. Our city is one of the dirtiest cities I've ever seen.
Well,
And it did not used to be this way. I'm embarrassed to drive down 630 freeway.
Well,
And I know that's a highway issue, but
That's
why
a state
isn't the
highway.
city calling the dang highway department every day and saying, hey, get your guys over and clean up?
we have a lot of efforts as it relates to litter and trash and keep Arkansas beautiful and keep city beautiful. And I give a shout out to Director Cappy Peck, who has now labeled herself the litter queen
I
of
love
the
it.
city.
I love that.
And she is taking upon herself to really try to get our city clean.
Good.
But I see people riding down the street and throw something out of their car.
You used to not see that.
Well, that's people. That's not the city. And so when I see that and they throw something out of their car and I see it, and I'm thinking, boy, somebody's going to say the city needs to be ashamed of themselves.
Well-
that is the person. There is some civic resident responsibility when they throwing trash out. We can clean up trash.
Well, that brings up another issue. How do you train people to be good citizens of Little Rock?
That's a good question.
That is a lot of every big city's problem is home training. I mean, my parents taught me you don't throw litter out. Plus, when they first started the Don't Be a Litter Bug campaign, there were cops going around writing you $100 fines if they saw that. We don't do that anymore. We don't write fines for expired tags. We don't write fines for littering. I don't know if it's because we don't have enough police force. But again, it's back to not minding our house. It's kind of like a parent that doesn't discipline their child.
It's a tough situation when we are asking, just like with school teachers. Mm-hmm. We ask school teachers to do a lot.
Oh,
I have
ridiculous
some
amounts.
family members that are teachers. And back in the good old days, it was reading, writing, arithmetic. Now we want the teacher to be a nurse. We want the teacher to be a social worker. We want the teacher to, we're asking a lot for people to do, and we're asking police officers to do a lot too. Mm-hmm. When an officer signs up to serve and protect, we obviously want the right type of people. Everybody doesn't need to be carrying a gun. That's not a good job for everybody.
No.
We want police officers that don't want to draw their weapons.
Yeah.
We want police officers that are conscious of serve and protect, and so they have to go through strenuous training and.
But again, we're back to we know what the issues are, but we don't know how to get to them. I mean, the issues are home training, asking our people to be social workers that shouldn't have to be social workers. So how do you go back to a family value and you stop this generational poverty and you get your citizens to be like you were, work hard and see where you end up being?
Well, that's a good question, and
Nobody
obviously,
answers.
if anybody has an answer to that, please let me know.
Call us.
Because
All right,
we
this is a
need
great
that.
place to take a This is a great place to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk more with Mr. Virgil Miller, Arvest Bank's Community Reinvestment Officer and Ward 1 Director for the City of Little Rock. When we come back, we're going to talk about the master plan real quick, and that'll be the end of the show and a 1% sales tax that we've been talking about. We'll be right back. Hey, kids, will y'all help me decorate for the holidays?
You can decorate for Christmas or Halloween. Boo!
I can help you decorate for Thanksgiving.
Hey Mom, try this light up headless snowman.
Flagandbanner.com's gift shop has everything you need for Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas decor. Did I mention Christmas? We have so many decorations for Christmas. Drop by our showroom in downtown Little Rock or shop online at flagandbanner.com.
We're speaking today with the community-minded and longtime reputable banker, Mr. Virgil Miller, whose daytime job as Community Reinvestment Officer for Arvest Bank dovetails well with his elected position as the Little Rock, Arkansas's Ward 1 City Director. If you're just tuning in, the very beginning of the show was we were listening to Virgil's career. it warms my heart to hear Virgil's career. He is a self-made man who never stopped. Then the second part, we talked about the city board, how he became interested in politics, which he thought he would never do. And now we're going to talk about what's it called? The master plan for Little Rock.
Downtown master plan.
So why would the whole city want to give a 1% sales tax if it's only for the downtown master plan?
Well, it's not.
Okay.
There are a number of items that deal with public safety, that deals with parks, that deals with public infrastructure, and deals with port or economic development. The downtown master plan was just a small part of what we really did outside of the efforts on the sales tax itself. We took approximately $750,000 of American Rescue Plan money to put together a comprehensive plan for our downtown, something that's never been done before. And one of the things that we found out from these national planners that we'd hired, that we have approximately 45,000 people or so that work in downtown Little Rock from 8 to 5. At 5 o'clock, the people that live in downtown Little Rock is about 4,500.
Say those numbers again.
Right about 45,000 that work downtown from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Okay.
Then after 5 p.m., the people that live downtown is about 4,500, 44
So
to
it goes
4,500.
goes thousands of less people.
And so what this plan has showed us is that we need more housing downtown. We need to get more people to live downtown.
Does it just show you that people don't want to live in Little Rock?
Well, we've got to give them some choices. We've got to give them some options.
I know that nobody likes to commute,
Yeah, I mean, I live downtown. I can be home in 5 minutes. I love it. And I guarantee you that a lot of people would love to walk. They love to commute. That's what you have in bigger cities.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to create. We're trying to create what they call a 24/7 city. It makes your city safer. When you have people that live, work, and play downtown, you'll be more inclined to walk down the street because you see other people walking
You're
down the
not
street.
alone on a dark alley.
Exactly. And so we need that. We need to have more people working downtown, living downtown.
Yeah.
We have a lot of people that work downtown. Mm-hmm. We won't have a lot of people that live downtown. And so that's one of the things that this master plan talks about. How do we do that? How do we encourage that? How do we incentivize developers? How do we use our river? We have a tremendous asset. It's called the Arkansas River that we have not utilized much in the past. Cities would die to have a riverfront. And so when we were developing, you take a look and see what's going on. The buildings that were built in Little Rock, they face south. They don't face north to the river. And so what you see being developed over in North Little Rock now, over in Rock Creek or so, they are developed. The best view of Little Rock
is from North Little Rock.
It's from North Little Rock. And so we want now, we've decided, look, enough is enough. Let us develop our river. Let's have trails. Let's have development that looks at the river. Let's have features on the river. We used to have the Arkansas Riverboat Queen. We used to have a pedal a barge, a steamboat that go up and down the river and serve dinner. We have a whole lot of recreational ideas, barge, what John Burkhalter's doing over in
Rockwater,
Rock City Yacht Club, and building those developments over there to take advantage of the waterfront. And so we have woken up.
Awaken.
And so we want to do that. We have a tremendous asset, which is a
What about turning one of these high-rise office buildings that nobody wants to work in anymore? A lot of them are vacant. What if you turn those into housing?
That is looked at all the time.
Is it?
Retrofitting is extremely expensive, but there are ways to do that, and maybe there are ways that we can incentivize people to do that. We are extremely grateful that the Attorney General has decided that He's going to have a building renovated right at Capitol in Main Street.
Yeah.
Tim Griffin
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
is doing the building there. There was the old, I don't know if it was old Dillard's.
Donaghy Building.
Yeah,
The old Donaghy Building.
Well, old Donaghy Building is over on
so
about
it's-
6. This is right on Capitol and Main.
Oh, it's Cones, M.M.
Yeah,
Cones.
old M.M. Combs building.
Beautiful
and
building.
So there's some apartments. That's going to be the AG's office. Hopefully there's going to be restaurants down in the bottom. We're trying to create that. And so buildings are looked at that way to try to retrofit, but that is an expensive thing to do.
So what would Southwest Little Rock get out of it? You're saying how much of this 1% sales tax would end up going to Southwest Little Rock to renovate or to build up the infrastructure?
Well, there are a lot of things. All 4 of these things are going to go all over the city.
They are.
Yes. One of the big things that's in the sales tax that's being contemplated is an outdoor sports arena. That would go over by the old Bass Pro Shop over in Southwest Little Rock. We have so many families, and I know when my daughters were younger and we go to softball tournaments, we go to a regional tournament, maybe in Conway or Cabot. We didn't have facilities here in Little Rock. And so what the outdoor sports arena would now give us the capability to have that. Can you see, say, a busload of people coming in from Little Rock, coming to our outlet mall, spending the weekend there, going to the movie. We have a movie theater there.
Yeah.
We have apartments there. We
Yeah.
have several restaurants there. Then we have a ball field. They could spend the whole weekend there in that whole Bass Pro Shop area.
And they have an electric car vehicle charger because sometimes I have to go there.
Yeah.
So we need more of those in the city of Little Rock.
Yeah, we're working on that too.
Are you really?
Yes, ma'am.
We really do need that. Is there not grants for doing that?
There are grants. We look at those. Compressed natural gas, electric vehicles. We're trying all those things. Those are things that a progressive city has to have.
So I heard the mayor talk about Oklahoma and saying, they've really turned Oklahoma City around and Tulsa around, but they have a 4.5% sales tax because they have oil. So what does Little Rock have that we could sell without prostituting ourselves besides tourism, which kind of ruins the quality of life for the people that live here, and raising sales tax? Do we not have other opportunities, another way to be creative, to create money? Seems like Little Rock has assets that would be nice if we could sell them without having to invest a lot of money.
Well, there are different economic incentive tools that you have for developers and builders that are somewhat limited by state law.
Oh.
And so we have to get some state laws changed in order to take advantage of those. I mean, my deal is this. When I'm, of course, Central Arkansas, and I always hear, and you probably always hear about Northwest Arkansas. Man, Northwest Arkansas is 2 counties. Northwest Arkansas is a dozen plus cities. Mm-hmm. And what Northwest Arkansas has, they have a Fortune 1 company, not a Fortune 500, and they have a very philanthropic family.
We do too, though. The Stevens are great.
Yes, they are, and thank goodness for them and the $170 million plus that they raised for the Arkansas Museum of Fine Arts, which is just a jewel for the city and contributes to our quality of life in a very positive way. But to me, I think more regionally because I think Central Arkansas. And in my mind, what's good for Conway and Cabot and Benton and Bryan is good for Little Rock. What's good for North Little Rock is good for Little Rock.
Could Little Rock, Arkansas create a nonprofit that was tax deductible so we didn't have to do a complete 1% sales tax to the poor people, the rich people, to everybody, and just say, hey, we're a nonprofit. If you've got money, give to us and we'll beautify Little Rock. Is that against the rules?
No, we will take any money that people want to donate to us. That's for sure.
I think a lot of people are starting to do these nonprofits because there are pockets of wealth of people who are trying to give their money away.
Yeah, I've heard, what is that? The first generation makes the money, the second generation grows it, and the third generation spends it. I think you're seeing.
Mom says it all the time.
I think you're seeing some of that up in Northwest Arkansas too, with the third generations of Waltons. It's turning that into a cycling mecca for the world, and all the trails that are going on, and all the businesses that are going on over there. So it helps to have a philanthropic community that can help, because everything is not going to be public. Sometimes you want public-private partnerships.
Yes.
And then sometimes you just want private. The condominiums that were built in downtown Little Rock, 303rd and River Market Tower, those were private developments.
Yeah.
That's what those were.
Yeah.
And so we need to have a combination of public dollars, private dollars, to really make our city become what it can be.
Yeah, the River Market down there under the freeway that they're talking about, the city, this new 1% sales tax is going to make a park under the freeway down there. Well, they won't even mow the grass down there. I'm like, well, just mow the grass and it would be a park right now for your dogs.
Well, we have, as you know, with the I-30 crossing, you're going to inherit about 18 acres of land. And we're trying to put together a plan for that would be very attractive for people. We know we're going to get that and bring families down. We're trying to, again, make our city attractive where people want to live, want to work, want to play, and come down. And so that is the
mayor actually said in the board meeting, when one of the board members said, our city is not as attractive as it used to be, he said, it doesn't matter, people don't come. And she said, I don't like to bring people into the city. He said, people don't look at that when they come to the city. They come here for jobs or they come for something else. So he does not buy into what you just said.
Well, I believe that the mayor embraces all of those things. He wants the city to be attractive. Believe me, he does.
He said it didn't matter. Literally said it does not matter to people moving here to buy a house.
Yeah, I don't know the context of that, and I certainly don't want to speak for the mayor.
No.
But I can certainly speak for myself that you have to have a quality of life that people want. And so when we are attracting all these industries here and our port is growing, because we are just about centrally located in the whole country, we have river, we have rail, we have air, we have highway,
freeway.
We are extremely attractive, and we beat out a lot of companies, a lot of other cities for companies to relocate here in Little Rock. And now we have 1,000-acre super site that we are working on.
Where's that?
It's in the port. It's in the port. The Port of Little Rock has this 1,000 acres ready to be developed. And if we can get that, we're talking about get a company to come here, whether it's a car manufacturer or whatever. We're talking about tens of thousands of jobs and billions of dollars.
Has anybody called Elon Musk?
I'm sure
Austin's not that far. He could just drive up here and do
that. We have a lot of efforts that's going on. And so when you see an announcement for a new business that's coming here, or a ribbon cutting for a new business, whether it's Trex down at the port or whatever, that's probably been years in the making.
Yeah.
That's been years in the making. This stuff just doesn't happen overnight. And so we have a tremendous chamber led by Jay Cheshire. I mean, just tremendous individual. He'd be great for your, be great as a guest on your
That's a good idea.
In your business. Up
in your business guest. Write that down, Gray. We should have
Cheshire,
thought.
CEO of the
Chamber of Commerce.
Greater Little Rock Chamber of Commerce. And even Brian Day, who's the executive director of the Little Rock Port. He would be great to have on here to talk about all the great things that we have in recruiting, and have them give you some personal testimony of what they heard from people who chose Little Rock over Kansas City.
We interview people all the time who are transplants to Little Rock that came here 20 or 30 years ago. David Basil, meteorologist.
Ned Permey's the one that we always go back to.
Ned Permey. We just did the one last week. You're the guy from New York, Colin.
Yeah.
Every one of them comes here and goes, oh my gosh, I had no idea this was such a great city. It's a big little city. It's got a symphony. It's got a ballet. It's got a theater. It's got a river. It's, like you said, it's on I-40. It's a great town. for people to come here. I just want it when they get off the airplane and walk out on the sidewalk of the airport. I want there not to be gum stuck to the sidewalk, and I want there to be clean streets on the thing. So let's talk about homelessness. And I wish people weren't begging, but you explained to me why people are begging, and then we're going to wrap the show up. You explained to me why we cannot do anything about the homeless people begging on the corners. Tell our listeners it's their right and why, and from the Supreme Court.
Well, certainly there is not a law against homelessness. And so when you see people walking up and down the street on a public right-of-way, that's not against the law. And so people want to know, well, what are you going to do with all these unsheltered people? What are you going to do about panhandling? What can you do about that? Well, it's not against the law to do that. It is your choice whether you want to contribute to someone. If someone's asking you for a contribution, whether you have the right to say yes or no. The Supreme Court also said that people have a right to be in public right-of-ways. And so people said, Virgil, what about all these people that are at intersections always asking for money? Well, we tried to pass laws. City tried to pass laws to keep people from being in intersections. It went all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court that says that is a freedom of speech. Asking for money, panhandling is a freedom of speech. And so that's something we just got to deal with. We got to live with that. And I've told all of our people, certainly as the Ward 1 director, and we have a tremendous success story, 40 years in the making, which is called South Main, or now SOMA, which everybody said, man, this is a great place to be. Man, it's so inclusive. It's just a great place. I tell, and they meet, the Business and Merchants Association meets every first Thursday of the month. And I go to those meetings and they talk about all their successes. And I said, you guys, the more successful you are, the more unsheltered panhandlers you're going to have come here. The more buskers you're going to have come here. They're not coming because there's not people down here. And the more successful you are, and the more attractions you have, and the more restaurants we have, and the more things we have to do, and people coming down here, you're going to have more people that are unsheltered too. So you are a victim of your success. We just got to be as creative as we can with that. That's why I'm a big supporter of the Downtown Ambassadors Program, where we have individuals that are cleaning up these areas downtown, but they're also engaging people that are unsheltered, trying to ask them, do they need some help? What can we help you with? We try our best.
Do you think it's mostly substance abuse, mental illness, or just bad luck?
I think it's a combination of all those things.
Which one do you think's the greater one?
Well, when you see somebody that's having a mental health episode, you're just thinking, well, man, that leads to so much other stuff. When I see somebody talking to themselves, walking down the street, or yelling at folks, or walking around with their shirt off or something, these people are having a mental health. A lot of people
think it's a substance abuse issue, and that if we had more rehab facilities for them to go to, that maybe it would help with some of the unsheltered.
Well, we certainly want to take a look at that.
You cannot get into rehab for cheap unless you commit a crime.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Yeah, there is a...
you can't...
Next to the Pulaski County Jail, there are 12 beds. Pulaski County, we have a rehab center, but it has 12 beds in it. And until the first part of this year, the police couldn't take anybody there. Generally, it's used by family members who takes one of their family members there to try to help them, because people can get up and leave out if they want to, but they try to get them back on their meds, and so get them back on their feet. We need more situations like that. When we pick up someone that's having a mental health episode, we don't want to take them to the emergency room. They don't need to be going to the emergency room or hospital.
That's back to people doing social work that aren't social workers.
We don't want to take them to jail if they're drunk and they just need to sleep it off. And so we're looking at some models that they have around in different other areas. But certainly when you have a situation like you have in Southern California, and you have a skid row, and it grows and grows and grows and grows.
The tenderloin.
And you have these situations. You've got to try to address that when you first see it, because if you don't, it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. So we're building a micro village on Roosevelt.
That's nice.
We're building that.
Is that going to have mental health
yes,
facilities?
We'll have wraparound services in that, but it's transitional housing to try to get
You don't
people
have to
in
be
housing.
arrested to get in there?
Absolutely not.
That is great.
No.
So I have a creative idea for the homelessness because I have my daughter-in-law, she worked for our house for a long time, and they do not want you giving money to these people on the street. They are very adamant. And if you give somebody $10 and you sit around and watch, they go get a, what are those beer jugs things? Quarts.
Brown bag.
Yeah. What's that?
40s.
40s. Thank you.
Oh, thanks,
They
Virgil.
oh, thanks, Virgil. They go get a 40 ounce the next time you see them. So it's not good for them. So what if every corner that they like to stand on had a sign that said, want to help the homeless, call this number, don't give them money?
We had that. You may recall that we had these green and yellow boxes set up throughout downtown that said,
I do remember that.
Yes, you do. Instead of giving money to an unsheltered person, put your money in this box.
Yeah.
This box is divided up between a whole lot of agencies that work with our unsheltered population. So don't give to unsheltered. Put your money in the box.
Yeah.
And it just didn't work.
Well, I don't want to put my money in a box. I don't know if everybody's going to steal it later, but you could put a sign up with just a phone number that says, call this place if you want to help this person, and we'll send somebody out.
We've had situations like that.
Yeah.
I know in Fort Smith, they have signs all downtown that says, don't give to the unsheltered.
Do they?
We have some other cities that we've seen that don't give to the unsheltered.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
tough.
It's not that simple.
It is not, because you'll have somebody go to a restaurant down in Soma, and they'll bring in somebody who says, I want to buy this person a hamburger. And then the management will say, we banned that person from coming here. Well, why'd you ban this person? I'm just trying to get him a hamburger.
I know.
See, you're not here every day. We
Yeah.
deal with this person every day. And even after hours when this person has broken into our shop, we banned them from being here. Well, you're a bad person. Let me put you on Facebook Live. And they pull out their camera and they're filming and they're talking on this and saying, this mean restaurant here won't even let me buy a hamburger. They don't understand.
No.
People want to do these good Samaritan deeds, and then they get up and leave.
Yeah, they're not educated on that. They're not helping the homeless.
Well, and it goes back to what you were saying about keeping people downtown. I think, I live and work downtown as well, and I walk from here to Soma and back twice a week. And the experience that you have with the people that I see regularly are, it's way more complicated than just buying them a hamburger or giving them $5 or telling them to go or not go into a restaurant. Because one time I saw a guy take somebody's cane when she was dining outside, and somebody had to make sure that he didn't hurt anybody with it. And that guy has a problem that needs to be addressed, but letting him into that restaurant is not going to solve that problem. Buying him a hamburger is not going to solve that problem. Telling somebody else that they can't, that they shouldn't, even giving, telling somebody that they shouldn't help him right in that moment probably isn't even going to help that problem. It's nuanced.
agree.
So I've enjoyed talking to you, Virgil. I always enjoy talking to
Well,
you.
I
I want
appreciate
everybody to know you're single because you're really cute.
I'm through. I'm through with that business. I'm out of that business.
That's why I brought it up.
I am out of that business.
I wanted to hear him say
I
that.
am out of that business.
I love it when he says that. All right,
My
so
mom trying to be your wingman.
I
My
know, I
goodness,
love
my
it. I'm
goodness.
always saying that to people. Nope. So before we go, what do you want our listeners to take away from this interview?
I want the listeners to know that you live in a great city. If you live in Little Rock, we're a progressive city. We are a growing city. We have a river that we can develop. We have a prosperous downtown. We have great amenities downtown or all over our city. And so you should be proud to be a resident of Little Rock. And if you want to get involved, do something. Don't complain. Get on some commission. Get on some board. Organize your neighborhood. Don't complain about the problem. Do something about the problem. And if you see some trash, organize some people. Let's pick it up.
Right.
Let's do something about it. I want to encourage our people to keep making our city the best that it can be. And you will enjoy it, and it'll be the quality of life that we all want.
Thank you, Virgil. We've been speaking today with the civic-minded banker and city board member, Mr. Virgil Miller of Ward 1 in Little Rock, Arkansas, and whose day job is working at Arvest Bank as their Community Reinvestment Officer, helping low to moderate income persons qualify for loans while maintaining safe and sound banking practices. Thank you so much, Virgil. I've really enjoyed talking to you. And we have a desk set for you.
All right.
But it's a desk set of all the places you live. So we're going to give you a U.S., an Arkansas, a North Carolina, and a California flag for you to take back and put in your Arvest.
On your Arvest desk.
On your Arvest desk. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
We've been speaking today with the civic-minded, longtime reputable banker, Mr. Virgil Miller. And we want to let you know that this show was recorded in the historic Taborian Hall in downtown Little Rock, Arkansas, and made possible by the good works of flagandbanner.com, Mr. Tom Wood, our audio engineer, Mr. Jonathan Hankins, our videographer, daughter Miss Megan Pittman, production manager, and my co-host, Mr. Gray McCoy the Fourth, a.k.a. Son Gray. To our listeners, we'd like to thank you for spending time with us. We hope you've heard or learned something that's been inspiring or enlightening, and that whatever it is, will help you up your business, your independence, or your life. And I'm Kerry McCoy, and I'll see you next time on the radio with Up in Your Business. Until then, be brave and keep it up.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. For more of Kerry's interviews, click on either video on the right of the screen. And as always, thank you for watching.